Good afternoon, Mr. Ignatieff, and thank you, truly, for coming to Dalhousie today to speak to us. I'm a second-year political science student here at Dal, and concerned over youth engagement as well in Canadian politics. But I'm wondering how attack ads and things like postcards such as this give us something to believe in.
Attack ads, thank you. I get asked that a lot, and I want to give you an honest answer. The slightly dishonest answer is I despise attack. We got to be honest. We got to be honest here. Political systems are adversary systems, right? Just like trial by jury is an adversary system. Someone speaks for the defense, someone speaks for the prosecution. Parliament, we're divided into political parties. It's appropriate for us to attack on policy. It's not appropriate to attack. I had my patriotism attack. I've had my devotion to Canada attack. I've been told I'm just visiting. All this garbage. I've had 4 years of it. Yeah, that I don't like so much. But attacking Mr. Harper for his policies, attacking him for shutting down Parliament, we are running some radio ads this week. They say you shouldn't have done it. I make no apologies for going after him on policy issues. But you try and keep his family, you try and keep his patriotism, you try and keep, keep off that. So, I believe in partisanship. I'm a proud liberal, right? But part of the discipline of politics is keeping that partisanship under some kind of control. And my criticism of my adversary is he doesn't even know what I'm talking about. I mean, he thinks just all's fair. This is war. I don't think politics is war. I think politics is persuasion. That's why I'm here, right?
Hi, sir. I love this country. I don't mean to get all Glenn Beck on you, but I love this country. Tradition aside, as a democratic society, as you call it, and it's funny you mention European roots, how do you see our head of state and the Senate fitting into a democratic society as opposed to a semi-presidential system like in France?
Tell me what question you're asking me. Should we have an elected head of state? Should we have an elected Senate?
How do you see it?
How do I see it? Okay. I was trying to buy time there. Look, I think an unelected Senate strikes many people as an anomaly in a modern age, but think about it a different way. And this is said as someone who's fought 2 elections and run for election, and I'm not necessarily the most promising guy to run for political office, but a system where we are able to appoint really great people who might not be able to win an election. I mean, there's a case to be made, in other words, a theoretical case for an unelected Senate. And I know as a practical matter, and I think Canadians don't know this, that this Senate, this imperfect institution we've got, does a very important job of catching our mistakes. This is said to you as an MP who often has to vote a lot of legislation fast. We try and do a conscientious job. Jeff Regan sits in committees and tries to make the bills better. Mike Savage, Scott Bryson, Roger Kusner. We sit on committees and try to make the bills better. But sometimes stuff slips through. And then the Senate catches it. And that's what the Senate does. That's when we talk about sober second thought. That's what they're doing. They're correcting our mistakes. So, so I'm a defender of the Senate.
But is there a way that could be elected?
A reform Senate, a Senate with term limits. I'm a little uncomfortable about, giving Patrick Brazeau as appointed by the Conservatives. He's in his 30s. He's got a job till he's 65. There's something about that doesn't seem right to me. Term limits for a Senate. But we can't even talk about this as if Mr. Harper or I has the power to change the Senate. This requires consultation with the provinces. You can't go there. This is playing with the constitutional plumbing of the country. And so, an elected Senate is something you can't go near until you've got consensus among the provinces that this is a place to go, number one. And number two, if you elect a Senate, you change the constitutional balance of the country. Because you give the Senate a new electoral legitimacy And then how do you manage two elected chambers entering into conflict with each other, right? At the moment, because the Senate's not elected, basically the House prevails, right? But what happens when you've got an elected Senate and an elected House? You're then into a new constitutional world. So this is where, you know, good thinking in political science is required to get this right. And you can't do it on the back of an envelope. And what I think Mr. Harper is doing is just first he wants to abolish it, then he wants to pack it, and now he wants to reform it. I mean, get your story straight here and give us a reform package that makes sense and makes constitutional sense. As for the Governor General, I think we've come upon you know, in my lifetime, we've Canadianized our head of state. Used to be a kind of British viceroy. Now it's chosen. I mean, our current head of state, you know, enjoys enormous, I think, popular support and respect. I think there are ways in which we could reform the selection of that person. But I don't, again, that gets us into constitutional consultations with the provinces. My sense is, let's be cautious, let's be careful, let's get it right. The minute you tamper with this stuff, you start getting into trouble. And Mr. Harper's use of the prorogation power is a classic example. That is a power that is in the hands of a prime minister. If you use it twice in 1 year like this, you begin to change the constitutional balance between the authority of a prime minister and the authority of parliament, and he's made a mistake. We shouldn't make that mistake when we deal with constitutional change of the kind you described.
Thank you.
Over here.
Thank you, Mr. Ignatieff. Sorry, I have a question over here to your right, sir.
Sorry.
To your right. Other. Sorry. I'm very quick and nimble like that.
Thank you. My name is Robert Ford. I'm the Vice President of Education here at Dalhousie Student Union, and thank you very much for coming to our campus. I would really like to say that we appreciate your comment earlier, and I don't think it comes to anyone here as a revelation that education is an economic driver, especially in this region.